When my husband told me he was leaving me for a younger woman, I was holding our 4-month-old baby, and the first thing that came out of my mouth wasn't, "How could you?" It wasn't, "I hate you." It wasn't even, "What about our kids?" It was, "What about my house?" I know how that sounds, but stay with me because 6 weeks later, his girlfriend tried to move into that house, and what happened next is the most satisfying thing I've ever done in my entire life. My name is Sarah. I'm 34, and this is the story of how I lost my marriage, kept my home, and watched karma show up in real time. Before I tell you what I almost lost, I need to tell you what I built. I didn't marry Daniel because he was flashy. I married him because he was dependable. He was the kind of man who showed up for people, not in a movie way, in a real life way. If someone needed help carrying a heavy box upstairs, he did it. If a friend's car battery died, he jumped it. If a neighbor's kid needed a ride because the parent was stuck at work, he offered. Sometimes it drove me crazy because he couldn't just relax. He'd see a problem and automatically become the solution. And for a long time, I thought that meant he'd always be loyal. We'd been together for years. We built a life. And I built our home. Not just lived in it, built it. Every room, every choice, every detail that made it feel safe. Because deep down, I always wanted one thing, a home that felt steady. Then, in March, I gave birth to our second daughter. 4 months. 4 months. Daniel came home, asked our older daughter to go to her room, looked at me holding our baby, and said he didn't want to be with me anymore. He said it like he'd practiced. "I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore." I just stared at him. Then he said the next part, and I felt like I wasn't even in my body anymore. "There's someone else. Someone from work." Her name was Jade. 22. I didn't ask how long. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just looked at him and said, "So, what about the house?" He blinked like that question surprised him, like I was supposed to only care about romance and betrayal and pain. But here's the truth. My brain went straight to the house because the house was the only thing in our life that felt like it was truly mine. And something in my gut knew, before my mind caught up, that he was going to try to take it too. Daniel wanted an amicable divorce, which sounded nice until I realized his definition of amicable meant I'd be the one giving up everything while he got a fresh start. He suggested he should keep the house and pay me back over time. Pay me back for my own home. So, the next morning, I didn't spiral, I didn't beg, I didn't argue. I called a lawyer. Then I called the one person I didn't think I'd ever have to call in a situation like this, Daniel's mother. She loved me like a daughter from the beginning, and when I told her what happened, she went quiet. Then she said, "Tell me what you need." That sentence mattered more than she'll ever know. Because what Daniel didn't realize was I had receipts, not emotional receipts, real ones. Every major purchase, every improvement, every item that turned that place into a home. And that house wasn't just a shared memory, it was documented. A few weeks later, Daniel showed up late at night with a document in his hand and a speech ready. The kids were asleep. I was exhausted. He started talking like a negotiator, how it was fair for him to keep the house, how he'd take care of me, how Jade thought I was going to try to take everything. Jade, a 22-year-old who had never spent a night in that house, had opinions about my home. That's when something shifted in me. Not sadness, not heartbreak, resolve. I told him to leave. He left angry, and I called my lawyer the next morning. Over the next few weeks, things were tense but manageable, until life hit me with one more thing. Childcare fell through at the worst possible time. I had a legal appointment and needed someone to watch my toddler. Daniel offered to help. He said Jade could babysit. And I want you to understand something. I was exhausted. I was postpartum, running on broken sleep, trying to hold my life together. So, against my instincts, I said yes. One time. Just once. The first day seemed fine. The second day seemed fine. On the third day, I came home and my toddler was crying in a way I've never heard before. It took me 20 minutes of calm questions to understand what happened. Jade had locked my 3-year-old outside on the back deck because she was being too loud. Locked her out. And when my daughter cried at the back door, Jade watched her through the glass and laughed. Then Daniel told her not to tell me. That's when I stopped being tired. That's when I became clear. I put my daughter in the car. I found emergency childcare through a friend, and then I drove straight to my house. When I got there, I knocked. No answer. I could see movement through the side window. She was inside. She'd seen my car, and she still wouldn't open the door. So I did the most composed thing I've ever done while being absolutely furious. I called 911, and I said, calmly, "Hi, there's someone inside my house who is not on the lease, and they won't let me in." The officer arrived fast. Jade tried it immediately, the bitter ex-wife angle. She told the officer I was harassing her, that Daniel said she could be there. The officer asked for proof. Her ID address wasn't mine. She had no lease, no mail, no documentation. I walked to the mailbox, pulled out mail with my name and my address, and handed it over. The officer looked at her and said, "Ma'am, you need to leave the property." And I watched her walk out my front door, past my garden, past my driveway, like she was a stranger. Because she was. The moment she stepped off the property, I changed the door code. When Daniel called, furious, I answered on the second ring, and I said, very calmly, "Now she knows what it feels like to be locked out." Then I hung up. The divorce took months. Daniel fought harder than he admitted he would, but his own family stopped supporting him when they saw what he was really doing. In the end, I kept the house, the garden, the kitchen. Every room I built into something safe. Daniel got his fresh start, and Jade got a man who left his wife and infant for her, which, in my experience, isn't the prize it looks like. Last I heard, they weren't together anymore. I can't say I was surprised. People asked me later if I regret fighting so hard for a house, like the house was petty. Here's the truth. That house wasn't about square footage. It was the physical proof that I existed, that I contributed something real, that I didn't spend years building a life just to be erased by a man who woke up one day and decided I wasn't enough anymore. I fought for the house because the house was the one thing that was undeniably mine, and I wasn't going to let him take that too. So tell me, was calling 911 too much or exactly what she deserved? Drop your verdict in the comments. And if this story hit you, if you've ever given everything to someone who decided one day you weren't enough, stay here. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to see it today. Because here, one story always leads to another.